What is up, everyone? Pizilla57 here with another monthly trophy video. So, if you watched my January update, then you'll know roughly how this goes, but if you didn't, then this is a monthly episodic series that I'm planning on doing this year, where basically at the beginning of a month, I go back over the games and trophies I got the month before. So since it's the beginning of March, I'm going to go over the games and trophies I played/earned in February, and just kind of go over them, give you my thoughts I have on the games I played. If there's any tips I can get on any trophies that may have given me problems, I could help you guys, then I will do that. So yeah, if, like I mentioned, January's video is already on my channel, so you can feel free to watch that if you want, but let's get into it. So one thing that I don't think I mentioned in the last video, but this year I'm trying to get my completion percentage up as much as I can. So right now it's at 75.68%, and I don't remember what it was at the beginning of the year. I think it was around 71%. So a lot of what I've been doing this year so far is kind of just going back to games that I had put off for a while and finish those up, or go back to games that I may have gotten the platinum in already but need to do the DLC. So that's part of my reasoning for going back to some of these games. So a lot of these trophies will most likely be DLC trophies if I remember correctly. So we'll get into it. So just like last time, I'm on my PSN profile account, and I just went to my trophy log, and it lists all of my trophies in order that I earned them. So we'll just go down to the end of February and work back there. So the last game I was playing in February and into March is Metro 2033 Redux. So this is actually my first exposure with the Metro series. It's always a game that has interested me, and it's a game I always saw myself really enjoying. So I don't know why I put it off for so long, but with Metro Exodus coming out, I figured I might as well go back and start playing some of the games so I can eventually play Exodus. And it's definitely not a bad game, but I will say that I was quite disappointed with how Metro 2033 turned out. So the atmosphere is great, which is what I was expecting. The story was decent, but other than that, the pacing was super slow on this game, especially at the beginning and toward the end, where it felt more like a walking simulator than an actual first-person shooter. And you can definitely tell the game aged well. Like, there are many technical messes in the game where sometimes you'll aim to shoot, like you'll aim and you'll press R2 to shoot and it just won't shoot, or you'll just randomly get stuck on invisible objects. There's one time where I was floating in midair, and yeah, it hasn't aged super well. So, but I have heard from many people that Metro Last Light and Exodus are both much better than Metro 2033. So I'm definitely not going to let my experience with 2033 cloud my judgment for Last Light and Exodus. I do plan on playing those two. Even though I was disappointed with 2033, I am going to continue on with the other games. At least that's the plan. I'm not sure when I'll get to it, hopefully sooner than later, but there are many other games I'm trying to clean up and that I want to play that I haven't started yet, so we'll see when I do get to those. So yeah, that's when I was playing at the very end of February and into March. And so before that, February 26th this is the first trophy I earned in Metro 2033 Redux. So before I started this game, I went back and did the Watch Dogs 2 DLC. So I finished Watch Dogs 2 more than 2 years ago, plat-wise, and I never got around to doing the DLC because it's just super expensive. Like, the season pass is $40 and never goes on sale. So I just never got around to it because I never owned it. However, this couple weeks ago, it was on sale in the NA store, PlayStation Store, for the Gold Edition was $25. which includes the base game and the season pass. And I had the game physically, so what I did was I traded in the game, got some credit from GameStop, put that toward a PSN card, and then used that to buy the base game plus season pass for $25. So that's what I did, and I finally got around to completing the DLC. So these first these first 4 operations are all single player offline operations, and they were better than I was expecting. Nothing too special, but they were decent. These last 2 trophies are complete trash, especially Off the Hook. It is one of the worst trophies. It's not necessarily hard, but in terms of how it works, it's one of the worst trophies you will ever come by. So basically what you have to do is, this is an online co-op trophy. The game claims you can do it single player, but it's kind of hard to do. It's easier now because of not as many people are playing the game. But so basically how this works is there are 10 missions. 9 of them are available at the start, and you have to, only 2 show up at a time. So what you have to do is keep playing these submissions to have others pop up, and once you finish the first 9, then the final 10th and final one will appear, and that's what you need to do to finish this operation and to get the trophy. However, like I mentioned, only 2 pop up at a time, so by the end it's possible that the 2 that pop up are ones you've already done before. So if that's the case, you can always just quit out the game and reload it up to get 2 new ones. So what makes this trophy so terrible is, so the game claims you can do it with 1 or 2 people, either by yourself or with a partner. However, if you have all your matchmaking preferences off, you can still get randoms, and you cancel, like when you start a submission and it's matchmaking for other people, you can cancel it. But even then, randoms can still join your game. And here's the really annoying part. So like I mentioned, you need to do all 9 of these once to get the 10th and final one. Say you have had some luck, you're doing all of these by yourself, you finish the first 7. A random joins your game who has only done 3 of them. Your progress will reset to what theirs is, because they're the least common denominator. So even though you're doing this by yourself, you completed 7 of them, you only need to do 2 more before the final one. You have all your matchmaking preferences off, you've always canceled matchmaking, you can still get a random. This random happens to only have done 3 of them. Your progress resets, so now you've only done 3 of the 9 you need to do to unlock the 10th one. And that is the premise of this trophy, and it is hot garbage. So I got a little lucky with not too many randoms joining my game. I was able to do it mostly by myself. But another thing about this trophy is there's no in-game tracker. So even you've done 7, you're keeping track of which 7 you've done. A random joins, you don't know their progress. Maybe, who knows, maybe they've done 8 and you can keep your 7, but you don't know that. Maybe they join and they've only done 1 or 2. You don't know how many they've done, and if they have only done 1 or 2, you don't know which 1 or 2 you've now done and the other ones you need to make up. There's no in-game tracker, so the concept for this trophy is one of the worst I've ever seen in a game. And I just had to keep playing by myself until I officially unlocked the last trophy, or the last submission for the trophy. So like I said, it's a little easier to do it now solo because there aren't that many people playing the game. The best way to do this is to find a co-op partner who you know, and to just play through all 10 of them right then and there with the same partner, so you don't have to worry about this whole random joining, your progress getting reset and stuff like that. And then this last one is also annoying. The maximum win streak is 4, and Showdown is a free multiplayer mode that they added once after the game released. So it's basically a 2v2 game mode with 3 different like games that you could play that's random, and you have to win 4 in a row. This game actually this trophy actually glitched on me in a good way, so I don't know if they changed the requirements or what, because like I said, it came out more than 2 years ago, this DLC. But so I lost my first game because I had a useless random teammate who wasn't doing anything. Then I won the next 3, and then once again, so I just needed 1 more for the trophy. I lost my next game because, again, I had a random teammate who was just sitting there doing nothing. And then, so I was like, oh, great, my progress is now reset. So then I played another game and won, and this trophy popped. So I had 3 wins, I lost, and then I won another one. So I don't know if it's just glitched in a good way for me, or I don't know if the requirements have changed since it first came out 2 years ago, but I don't know. So, but it was nice to get this DLC done and get the 100% in Watch Dogs 2 after more than 2 years. So next we have MLB The Show 14. So again, this is a game that I started 3.5 years ago, and I finally got around to getting back to it because I didn't have, so you can see here, there weren't that many trophies I had left, but they were pretty annoying because most of the trophies require doing specific things with specific players. So, as you can see with like Miguel Cabrera, you need to hit 3 home runs in 1 game while having a perfect day at the plate. Or with Yasiel Puig, you need to hit a double, triple, and steal 2 bases. And this has to be done in like uninterrupted 9-inning games against a CPU team and stuff like that. So it is very situational. But I decided I've tried going back to this game a few times and just got bored super quickly. But I do enjoy baseball. I enjoy the MLB games. So I figured I'd finally go back, settle down, and just focus and get it done. And I think it only took me 2 nights to finish the trophies I had. So it was definitely nice to get this done after 3.5 years. All right, next is we have 2 Narco Road Ghost Recon Wildlands DLC trophies, which I got the 100% in Ghost Recon now finally, which is another game I went back to finally. I've had the plat for I think almost 2 years now, and finally did the DLC. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there is a theme here, and the DLC isn't too bad compared to some other Ubisoft games because they are story related and the story missions and stuff are actually kind of cool. But both DLCs had a couple of grindy trophies, which included basically just finishing everything in the DLC, like all the cartel activities, all the electro challenges, all the side missions and stuff like that. So they did take a little while. And for the Narco Road DLC, I actually wrote the DLC trophy guide for it. That's on PSNP right now. And that's my first ever trophy guide that I wrote, attempted to write and stuff like that. So I wrote it, submitted it, and it got published 1 or 2 days later. So it's exciting that I can now say I've published a guide, even though it's a DLC guide and it's much smaller scale than, say, a normal sized game. Everyone's got to start somewhere, and it's actually pretty fun. So I'm looking forward to hopefully writing some more guides in the future. It just depends on if I see it deemed fit with the game and the trophies and stuff like that. Because a lot of the times I'll be going through games, there are some trophies I don't exactly know how to do, so I'm end up following other guides and stuff like that. And I don't really want to write a guide for a DLC or game that I followed a different guide from. But with Narco Road, I was able to all the trophies are straightforward. There was no guide on PSNP, but it just seemed like the right DLC to write a guide for, because I was able to figure everything out by myself without following other people's videos and stuff like that. I had some good tips that I thought for this trophy for finishing all the challenges and stuff, activities and stuff like that. So it just seemed like the right game. Not much information out there. I was able to provide some good tips, and it seems like it's being received pretty well. So that's kind of what I look for in a game if I decide I do want to write a guide for it. So next is the earning 100% on your bike license from Burnout Paradise Remastered. Again, this is the only trophy I had from this game left for quite a while, probably almost half a year, and it was just super boring getting 100% on the bike license, but I finally sat down and did it. It only took a few hours. It went by quicker than I thought. So next is Far Cry New Dawn, which I think I did all in one sitting. Yeah, so, oh, no. But almost, pretty much all, well, not one sitting, but without any breaks for other games, but that does not seem to be the case. So, Far Cry New Dawn, I really liked the game. It was the one game I was looking forward to most that came out in February, and it's my favorite Far Cry game since Far Cry 3, and I thought the smaller scale was very good for the Far Cry game. They didn't have too many grindy trophies. Far Cry generally does a good job at not having too much of a grind compared to other Ubisoft games, but in like Far Cry 4, I think it was specifically, unlocking all of your skills took a long time, but nothing was too bad in Far Cry New Dawn. Overall, it was a very enjoyable experience, and like I said, it was my favorite Far Cry game since 3, and the setting, it looked great. None of the trophies were too challenging or too hard, so I thought the $40 price point was very fair, and yeah, I thought it was a very good overall experience. It was a very nice, narrowed down Far Cry compared to like the full Far Cry games that we have gotten. So I thought it did a really good job with that. So in between playing this, the new Resident Evil 2 DLC came out, which was a free DLC for the Ghost Survivors DLC, and this DLC was not good, which is unfortunate because if you guys know from my last video, I loved Resident Evil 2. It's my game of the year so far, and it probably will be for the entire year. And they announced free DLC coming, so it's like, alright, cool, gave me a chance to go back to the game, but the DLC was not good. It's another example of games just coming out with DLC for no reason when it's not needed, just to try to get players to come back. At least it was free, that's good. But so the Ghost Survivors, there's 3 different stories, kind of. They called it stories, but they weren't really stories, of 3 different characters that didn't make it, but it's like, oh, what if they did make it? And all 3 of these were essentially the exact same as the 4th survivor from the base game. So you're basically just running from point A to point B, avoiding zombies. That's it. There was no story or anything. They had like a very short cutscene before and after the game mode, but it wasn't very good. And once you finish those 3, this new No Way Out scenario unlocked. And this is basically just like a horde survival type thing where you are stuck in a very enclosed area, and you have to there are 100 zombies, and you have to kill all 100 zombies before you die to win. And they don't all come at once, but there are 3 different entrances that they can come from. There's so many different types of enemies and zombies. The one cool thing about this DLC mode, the one thing it did right that I enjoyed was, so for each of the 3 Ghost Survivor stories, they added a new type of zombie that was not in the base game. So I thought that was kind of cool. And all 3 of those were in the No Way Out scenario. So it was pretty challenging, the No Way Out scenario, that is, because you just had so many different types of zombies, and you start out with like an herb and a handgun, which is infinite ammo, which is nice. But then you have backpack zombies that will appear every now and then, that if you kill, they have herbs or different weapons in the backpacks. And the one good thing about this No Way Out scenario was everything was scripted. There was nothing random about it. All the zombies and all the same types of zombies appeared in the same order from the same entrances. The backpack zombies appeared at the same time every time and always had the same exact weapons and stuff like that. So it was pretty challenging and pretty annoying just because there's not much room to move around, but at least it wasn't random. So it was just kind of one of those things where you had to play over and over to get a sense of how things are and get used to when you should use certain weapons and which type of enemies and stuff like that. So, but yeah, overall it wasn't not very enjoyable. At least there were only 2 free trophies and it didn't take too long to do. But I'm hoping that they don't come out with any more of this free garbage DLC. So then back to Far Cry, and I think this was the first trophy I got. Yeah, February 14th. Yeah, this was the first trophy. So I played Far Cry New Dawn pretty much all the way through with this small break for the 2 Resident Evil 2 DLCs. So next is back to Ghost Recon Wildlands DLC. Here's the rest of the Narco Road DLCs that I was talking about, the trophies. And before I started that, I had 3 Fallen Ghost trophies that I need to finish. So I finished these 3, and then I went to Narco Road. And again, a game that I had the plat in for almost 2 years, went back and finally finished it up. So it's been really nice completing some of these games that's been unfinished for a long time. So next is a single Hitman 2 trophy, and this is the only multiplayer / co-op trophy in the entire list. So there's another person in my Discord group who's also been playing Hitman 2, so I was like, hey, do you want to go ahead and get this multiplayer trophy out of the way? He was like, sure. So it didn't take very long. It's the last Yardbird is a sniping map, and basically you are in one position, like you can't move. All you have is a sniper, and you basically just have to kill the 3 targets. So it was super quick that we finished it, but at least that's out of the way now for when I do go back to Hitman 2 eventually. So next is the Tomb Raider DLC. There's a new challenge tomb and a new DLC out every month for 7 months, and this is the 4th one, I believe, and the 5th one comes out tomorrow actually. So just like I have, well, I didn't do this with the first 2 DLCs because I got the game after they released, but with the 3rd and 4th DLC, as soon as the game dropped, or as soon as the DLC was live, I just went to the DLC and I just got it done and over with. The DLC is pretty terrible. Doesn't really add much. The tomb was atrocious, and you spent more time in loading screens than in actual gameplay. But at least they're short and easy. Like, the first trophy was at 4:10, the last one was at 4:45, so it took like 35 minutes basically. Well, it took a little longer than that because completing this was beating the side mission basically. So, but overall it took about an hour. Next is a couple of other Hitman 2 trophies from the last Yardbird. This is the last DLC trophy set, the last location in Hitman 2 that I need to 100% before doing the legacy maps. So I did the base game training stuff, which is the same base game trophies from the first one, and then the first 6 areas, episodes, locations, whatever you want to call it, I had those 100%. And I just need to do this sniping map now before going back to the legacy maps, which are just remastered locations from the first Hitman. So next is Resident Evil 1 remake, which I started right before I think I started this a few days before Resident Evil 2 came out, and Of course, when Resident Evil 2 came out, I dropped this and went straight to Resident Evil 2 and just played through that until I had the plat. But I decided to go ahead and start the first Resident Evil. I finished my first playthrough before the second one came out, and then I had to do 5 more playthroughs for the platinum. So I wasn't... The game is really good. I should say that. It took me a little while to get into because it was a little slow, because my first playthrough, I think I mentioned in the last video, it was super slow to me because my first playthrough was 100% the map, where you have to go into every room and pick up every single item, and it just took a lot of time. There'd be times where you're in the room and there's all these items, but you don't have space for all of them, so you have to backtrack to an item box and then go back to the room. Sometimes you have to do that multiple times for a single room. So it was a little bit slow for me. And instead of in terms of technicality of how the game runs with the camera angle and stuff like that, it was definitely a step down from Resident Evil 2 remake, but it's still a really good game overall. And it definitely, after that first playthrough, like, I definitely got into it a lot more and was able to focus and just go through it. But like I said, there are 6 playthroughs you need to do, each one very different than the last. And let's see, this might be the last game I played in February. Oh, no. So I did mention in the January update, I did get some Drawn to Death trophies because we were trying to get the trophies done with while the servers are still up, because they're closing this month now, I believe, in March. And so we did some Drawn to Death trophies, and then the servers were fucked up again, and we just could not connect to each other or find a match or do anything. So we're like, shit, hopefully they start working again before the servers close. And there was one PSNP forum thread where people were also having similar problems where they just couldn't connect. So I was looking at that pretty closely in case there were any updates, and one day I saw that someone got it working again. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, hey, I messaged the person in our Discord group and I was like, they seem to be working again, let's go ahead and try this. And it worked. So he is from the Netherlands, so he's 7 hours ahead from me. And we started boosting again, and we spent, like, I think 14 hours straight finishing these trophies because we didn't want to take a chance. So I stayed up all night and we just plowed through them. So all of these first ones right here are from the Japanese stack, because the Japanese stack, almost all the trophies except for a couple, like the training ones and stuff like that, they all auto pop from the other version. So as soon as we finished, right here. So as soon as we finished the first stack, shout out to Pricey for providing us with the Japanese stack and let us borrow it. But so he let us borrow it, and we just loaded it up, and all of these trophies auto popped. So we were able to get the platinum for the Japanese stack as well. And then a couple more Resident Evil trophies sandwiched between some of these Drawn to Death trophies. And then at the very beginning of the month, I guess I finished the Wheel of Fortune platinum. I thought I finished that at the very end of January, but I guess it was at the very beginning of February. So similar, I think I mentioned it talked about it in the last video, but it's Wheel of Fortune, so it's a lot of fun. There are a couple of grindy trophies, specifically this win 50 games and acquiring all contest clothes and logos. So it took a little while, even though it was a lot of fun. It kind of dragged down a bit, and then here we have the first trophy I earned winning 25 games. So yeah, there you have it. That's the games I played in February. I completed quite a few of them. Went back to quite a few games that I either needed the platinum still after many years, or went back and finished up DLC in games that I had the platinum from like 2+ years ago. So similar to January, I thought February was a very good month in terms of cleaning stuff up. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If there are any things you guys want me to add or not include in future videos, anything to change things up to make it more interesting, then please let me know in the comments below, and I will try my best to make those changes in next month's trophy update video. But so that's it for this time. So until next time, guys, Pazilla out.